welcome to Finliti, Game of Gains. I will be your game master for today, and I'm going to show you how to play, step by step. The first game ever played was on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange in November. So you're in for a real treat with this one. Investing can be difficult, and that's why I created this game. I'm a portfolio manager. I managed millions of dollars of clients' money, and I found that there are all these behavioral biases that get in the way. So today I'm going to show you how to tackle these behavioral things that you do that aren't in your best interest, and we're going to make them into your best interest, and you're going to get some gains. You're going to gain financial knowledge, and you're going to learn how to play this game, how to compete with other players on the market, when to buy, when to sell, when to hold, all of those good things. And by understanding these basics, you'll be able to play on any financial market, whether it's the stock market, crypto market, real estate market, it doesn't matter. The market dynamics are all the same throughout. So with that said, let's get started. So you want to know what the objective is. Basically, you need to get to 21. You need a score of 21 using either 2 or 3 cards to get you there. Second best option is to get the score that's on the back of your card. So that could be 16, 17, 18, 19, or 20. If you fall below that, you cannot win. If you are above 22, 21, I guess you could say, then you can't win either. So you need to be sure that you're in that bracket of winning numbers to win. What you're trying to do is you're trying to beat your financial foe. So when you reach a score of 21, you are eligible to win both pots, and you defeat your financial foe essentially because you've achieved financial mastery with a score of 21. Who are the financial foes? Those are those pesky bad behaviors that get in your way, that prevent you from making money, that cause you to give up, that cause you to regret your financial decisions, that force you to spend money you don't have so that you can buy the things that you don't need, and you can compete with your neighbors. We call that keeping up with Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones is always going to have a bigger boat than you, a bigger home, a better car, and so there's no use competing. Stay in your own lane. And that's what we're going to help you do, is to actually realize what your biases are that are holding you back from the life that you deserve. So in essence, you get the returns that you deserve. My silly thoughts try to run away. What's in the game kit? Good question. I will tell you what's in the game kit. First off, we have a special edition collection of player cards, and these have your financial friends on them. This is you. One of these is you. And on the back, we have your financial foe and a number. And this is so it sets you up for success. It makes the game easy to understand. And it's also a segue into other areas and expansion packs in the future. Wink, wink, nod, nod. You know what I'm saying. It's always good to be able to elaborate on our skills. So these cards here, you can find them on finliti.com, finliti.com, and you can check it out on the game section. You can also download the game mechanics to make it easier to review and understand how the rules are played. So these cards are essential for the gameplay. However, if you do not have the cards at your disposal, or you want to see if you like this game, you can do the budget version. So here I have some post-it notes like so, and you can write the numbers 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 on post-it notes or whatever you have. If you have 8 players in the game, or even if you have 12 players, then you just need to make a bunch of sets of 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You fold them up like so. It's arts and crafts time. And then you put them into your favorite hat. I don't have a hat here because my table is just full of all of the game pieces. But I think you can figure that part out for yourself. The second thing that you're going to need is a deck of cards. I've got these gold colored trump cards here because they reflect a Republican denominated market, and we're going to pretend that we're playing on the S&P 500 for our stock market. I have 2 decks of cards with me because I find that it's more easy to manage when you're playing to have a set of cards to use as the market and then one to use as almost like your blackjack dealing cards essentially here. And I like to make them different colors because it's just easier to manage. And it's all about staying organized. Are you with me? We need some tools to keep us organized here. So that's why I recommend 2 decks. The next thing you're going to need is you'll need some shallow dishes for the pots. We have the red here and we have black here. And it's fun too because then your coins are all organized, so you need your chips. I recommend 30 to 50 chips per person who's playing. And so you like these, and then you can like plunk them in the dish, and it sounds pretty good. And it also keeps them all contained. Because you have 2 different pots, you don't really want them to spill into each other. And it just keeps things organized, which is what we need to do. And that's the word of the day, organization. Then you need a set of dice. You need different color dice. One is for the bull market, and a bull market is when the market is doing well and it's increasing in value. And then you need one for the bear market, which is red. So that's when the market is declining. And the stock market is essentially, it's a leading indicator of where all the other stocks are going to go because it has a basket of stocks within it. And so that's what we're going to do is we're going to make bets on whether the market's going to go up or down. And we'll use these dice as economic indicators, which means that these are forces acting on your market. And we've got numbers from 6 down to 1. And so let's say one dice you get a 6 and the other one you get a 1. And then the dominant dice is the black one. Then 5 chips to get you started are going to go into the black pot before you start your round. Okay? So everybody participates because it's anyone's game, really. So if you like your cards, then you can participate. The other thing you have you're going to be dealt a set of cards, so 2 cards per person, and these will be face down. So we have a value, let's say ace. This is a pretty good card. It's like 11, just like blackjack. And then we got a king. So we've got a 21 right here. So that's like the best hand you can possibly have. So these cards are face down. Everyone gets 2 cards to begin, and you place your bets accordingly. So having a hand like this, I may want to signal that I've got good cards. I may want to bet more than the 5 chips that are in the pot and get only the serious players in my game. Similar to poker. It's a combination of blackjack and poker. To keep things organized, like I said, I use the dealer chip and the big blind and the little blind so that everybody puts something into the pot. As a little blind, you can just put 1 chip. The big blind will have whatever the dice roll was. That is what we need to get the game started. Let's go. All night and day. First thing you need to do is you need to choose your faction. So here we're going to use the faction cards that we have, and you want to pick a faction. There are 9. Everyone has their unique weaknesses and their unique strengths. We should focus on the strengths and minimize the weaknesses, but it's good to know what your weaknesses are so that you can build yourself up. You've got this. Let's assume that you're president. So what you do is you gather all the cards that are in the president deck, and you just pick a random one. So if you have multiple presidents, that's cool, that can play with you. You're welcome to them. It's ironic that the presidents really resemble the presidents that were actually in the last US election. Haha, life is so ironic. So you pick one. let's say we're picking this president. And on the back, this is the financial foe that she needs to beat. It's 19. So you need a score of 2 cards that are going to give you a score of 19 or above. And that's how you can win. If you're right on your score, that's the second best score that you can have to win the game. You need to defeat FOMO, fear of missing out. So that's what the card we're going to play with for the sake of this. Each faction has a target score. So 16, 17 represents a conservative score. A moderate score would be 18, 19 in terms of risk tolerance. And aggressive is 20 and 21. The aggressive scores, if you're playing with multiple people and everyone's achieved their different score in the game, let's say somebody got a 16 and I've achieved the 19, then I would win because my score is harder to get probability-wise. Next, you're going to make sure that everybody has at least 30 chips. So make sure that you have 30 chips. You can raid your poker chips and use those, or you can raid your games and use little tokens. They would just count for 1 each. So you want to make sure everyone has about 30 to 50 chips each. And you also want to make sure that everybody is dealt 2 cards face down. So in this case, here you go. There's 2 cards. Everyone gets 2 cards. Face down. Don't show anyone. So that's what you're going to do, is distribute those evenly. Let's assume everyone's in the game. And then we start to roll the dice. All right, here we go. What are we going to get? We've got red shows 6. Black shows 4. So 2 chips. 1, 2 are going to go into the red pot. Okay, got it. And so if anybody wants to stay in the game, they're going to have to call the 2 chips to be able to play. Ready to play your first round? Let's get started. So now we're going to start with the market trend. In this case, we're assuming that we're playing on the S&P 500, which is a stock exchange in the US, and we are going to form a trend line. So we're going to draw 7 cards, up to 7 cards, to determine a trend line. If you get 4 red cards, then it's a bear market and you can win the pot. If you've achieved one of the scores that's on the back of your card, your faction guide card, and if it's for black cards, then it's a bull market that's winning, and you can win the black pot that's there, all the chips that are in there. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to play and see what happens. So the first card drawn is the red. So all the chips and all the bets would go into the red pot. And so as the chips start to accumulate in the pots, they become more interesting. And you may want to bet to get the pot bigger. So here we go. First card is a red card. So it's starting to be a bear market. So you do a round of bets right now. So now to participate, you need to contribute a minimum of 2 chips because that's what the dice were rolled the previous round. So 2 chips is what you want to do. Now let's take a look at the cards that we have here. One of our players, let's assume it's the blue player, has a score of 21. That is the top-notch hand that you need to win. But there's not a lot of chips in the pot, so maybe they want to just slow play it. Our next one has a king and a 3. So we've got 13 here. It's not going to win the game. So this person will want to definitely stay in the game and would like to buy another card. So minimum to buy a new card is 2 chips. However, the person who has 21 might want to make it more expensive and increase it to 4. In this case, let's assume that we're just sticking with the 2 chips to make it simple, and person B, so the red player, decides to contribute 2 chips to the red pot because we have a red card, and they get a new card that they get to draw. So with this new card, they have a jack. Now the issue is they've got a king and they've got a 3 and they've got a jack. So if any individual decides to call like a margin call, which means that they want to end the game and they declare themselves as the winner, then this person has to either fold or call the hand. So just like poker. Now a score with 23 gets you into that financial purgatory dark zone where you're not able to win the game at all, but you don't lose all your chips at the table. Should you go over 27, that's a problem because you're getting too greedy and you can lose all your chips at the table. I made this rule because it really annoys me when I'm sitting at a poker table and every single person has a big stack of chips and they're just waiting for the fish to come in so they can steal their chips. In this case, if you're sitting on a terrible hand, you risk losing all your chips at the table. This makes it fair. Now, it's important to mention that let's say the person would have wanted to stay with a 13, they're continuing to play the game and underachieving their result, they can also lose their chips at the table. So let's say this person was a futurist, they have the card of 20, and so if they do not achieve a 20, then they are at risk of losing the game. If they have 16 and under, they're at risk of losing everything, all their chips at the table. Okay, so we have that. Now we have one player who is holding 23 and the other one has a 21. So let's continue. Our game is about to be really exciting. We have 2 players with really good hands. So this is really cool. This is where it gets intense and gets really fun. I'm going to roll the dice again. So now we're showing black 6 and we're showing a red 2. So 4 chips are going to go to the black pot this time by each of these players. Now, each of these players definitely want to play this game, and player A is definitely slow playing. So we've got this going here, and we put our chips. So we've got a pretty good pot building up now for the black pot here. So knowing this is really good. We're assuming everyone wants to stay in the game. And because participant B, who's holding 3 cards, is like, okay, I need to get rid of one, he's going to get rid of the 3 and he's going to sell it back to the house. So now he's got 20. So this is really good. Now he's in the game. He's like, okay, this is pretty cool. I've got a great hand. And I'm so glad this showed up. These random cards just showed up because it makes it really interesting to explain what's going on. All right, now let's get going. So now we draw the next card for the stack because we want to see what the next card is for a trend line. Now we've got a red 9. So we've got 2 red cards in the trend line. It's looking pretty good for the red pot. And it looks like we're going to get a red trend line. And so that's what this one is banking on because they can only really win one pot and they want the pot with the most chips. So right now, we're going to make some more bets. We're going to add some more chips to the pot. And this time, all the chips go to the red side. So throw them in there. There we have it. Everyone's betting. Everyone's happy with their hands. And the guy with 21 is staying. At this point, we're rolling the dice again to see how many chips are going to make it happen. They're basically like our blinds. So now we're showing a red 6 and a black 5. So another bear market. So more chips go into the red pot. There we go. So that's done. Nobody wants to buy or sell a card. And so now we see what the next trendline card is. Okay. Do you think it's red or black? Ooh, now we have a black card. So this keeps going on. Let's assume that we want to see what the trend line is. We do roll more dice, we do more betting. We have next a red card, and that happens. People are still contributing, going up to the pot. The guy with the 21 is slow playing it and just waiting for this person to make a call. Next, we have a black card. So the trend line is really getting defined. We're getting a lot of pots accumulated here. And now we've drawn 5 cards. Next is a red card. So the winning pot is the red side. So knowing this, the players are just like, okay, cool, I'm going to open up, and you see what they have. And in this scenario, this guy has a 21, so he wins. Now, this is a really close game because the other one who had their faction card, there's a Futurist here, and they had a 20. They also achieved their score of a 20. So that's a really bad beat. And that's how you play a game in a typical fashion of, just reading the trend line, placing bets, and trying to become the winner. So there you have it. That's one scenario. I'm going to walk you through some other ones. Now, there are many ways actually, there are not many ways. There are a few ways where the trend line doesn't have to be determined for the game to be over. There is one scenario where you have 2 black queens in the deck. Those are representing your black swan events. Black swan events are like, massive things that happen that are kind of outside of the usual regular ups and downs of the market. They're extreme situations of either the market going up and rallying or going down and falling in terms of a market crash. That's what we call black swan events. They're like these one-off moments that only happen so often. And so I felt that it was important to actually show this in a game because this is representative of what actually really happens. And right now we are on the biggest bull market run that we've ever had. So this is pretty much like a black swan event, but for a positive market rally. And so a positive market rally is denominated by 2 black queens. And if there is one of those black queens that happens to show up at any point of time when you're flipping over the cards for your market trend line, then the game is over. And it's basically whoever achieves their score on the back of their faction card. And that pot, so the black pot in this case, would belong to this player if they got their score of 20 and nobody else had 21. Okay, we got it. Now, at the same token, we have a bear market, and so black swan events, which tend to be market crashes because they're really extreme really quickly. That's when you have extreme volatility in the market, and all of a sudden everybody loses hope, there's a lot of fear, and you have a bear market. A bear market is it's represented by 2 red kings that are there. So one of these guys just has to show up to end your game. And just because the market's down doesn't mean that people don't profit off of that. Some people are good at reading. Some investors and investment professionals are really good at reading the market. And so they can determine when the momentum's kind of dying out and it's a good time to short the market. And so that's when you bet against the market going up and you decide that, you know what, I think the market's going to go down. And so you essentially bet on the market going the other way and it crashing. And then you can profit off that because you can buy the stock at a lower price than what you sold it at. That's all you need to know for now because we're just trying to play the game. So those are the 2 scenarios where the game ends without having a defined trend line, that being for red cards or for black cards. There you go. There's another scenario where the game can end with the market trend, and that's when somebody declares a margin call. A margin call is when you're really confident in your hand and you think you can win the game. You can also bluff people out, whatever else it is, but it doesn't matter. You have to open up your hand unless you can cause people to fold. So if you have a margin call, or if you call the margin call, then you can have a bold move and you essentially end the game. And you're trying to steal the pot, essentially, or win the pot, which is rightfully yours. So in this scenario that we're talking about, we have the one player. Let's say the one player is calling with a 20, which is a really good hand, and they can win the red pot. But the other player is like, cool, I'm going to be in on this. And they have a 21, so they win both pots. And this is the ultimate scenario of somebody who's trying to accumulate chips in their pot or both pots so that they can win the biggest pot possible. And so for somebody else to declare a margin call and them having the best hand is really the best you could ask for. And so margin call is when somebody really loves their hand, or they're trying to bluff all the players and they don't like their hand, but they're feeling brave. It's when you call a margin call. So in this case scenario, both of these players would definitely be in, and then you unfold the hand. So that's another way where the game can end. My silly thought. Let's talk about busting. There are safe busts and dangerous busts. If you have a safe bust, you can't win the game, but you don't lose any more than the chips that are in the round. However, if you have a dangerous bust or deadly bust, then you can lose all of the chips that are at your table. This prevents chip bullying at the table. So here's some scenarios. This is a bad bust. If you are holding a 10 and a 5, for example, you're under 16. If you're under 16, you're underachieving and you're too risk adverse. And therefore, you can lose all your chips at the table if you're in a hand and somebody calls a margin call after the hand has been dealt. When you're there, you cannot fold. You must play the round. And if you're in the game in that round and you're participating, you put your chips in, you're pot committed. And that's a bad bust. You can give a winning margin call, or if somebody has the queen or king and it ends the game, then you can be stuck giving all of your chips to whoever the winner is. That's one of the bad busts. Another bad bust is, let's say you're playing the round, and this can happen a lot. You bought yourself another card, but now, unfortunately, you're over and you're at 27. That is a bad bust too. And if somebody calls a margin call, or if you get a queen or a king, or the trend line ends, then you're stuck with 3 cards and you have 27, and therefore you can lose all of your chips at the table. So we don't want that. Okay busts, where you can't really win the game, but you're not going to really lose too much, is when you just underachieve your goal. So let's say you are holding a 17 and you had a 19 that was drawn. You have to achieve a 19 in order to win the game. So anything less than that is not going to get you there. And that's about it, I think, for busts. Yeah. So just don't bust, or be mindful of the busts. They can happen at any time, and that's part of the fun. Time for Q&A. What happens if there's a tie? Well, the pot is split evenly between the tied players. So there you go. Now, do I have to draw a card? No, you do not. You can choose to stay, you can choose to drop a card, or you can have another card. Buy yourself another card. Every time the dice is rolled, that's the cost, the liquidity cost it is to buy the card. Can I pick my financial foe? No, you can't pick your financial foe, because the foes pick you. And it must be drawn randomly from your faction deck. Now, if you have the homemade version, where you're putting things on Post-it notes, like the numbers on Post-it notes, you don't technically get a financial foe. But you can find out your faction guide on Finliti. You can see how it works, and you can actually do the assessment to find out and to get feedback on who you are as a faction. So there you go. You can do that while you're waiting for your cards to come in. And there you have it. May Finliti, the game of games, treat you right. Don't get greedy, don't give in to fear, and just go out there and play with your friends or family members, or have a healthy competition with people that you'd like to have a friendly rivalry with. Share the space, give your criticism on capitalism, what you like about it, what you hate about it, what can be improved. It's all about reconciling our differences and talking about these types of things. This really helps to air our grievances about whatever you're feeling. And it's way better than sweeping those emotions under the rug, because that doesn't help anybody, and it just makes a lot of passive aggressiveness in our society. So hopefully you learn how to buy, sell, hold, and manage your emotions and not give in to your feelings, because the financial foes are out there. I've experienced them, and you will get to see firsthand on how to identify them and how to tame those biases that we all have, and to make them your strengths and not your weaknesses. So with that said, remember, whether you win big, whether you play it safe, I hope you learn a thing or two about balancing risk and rewards. Understand risk and you will reap those rewards. And if you understand this market dynamic, I guarantee that your investing or trading is going to get a lot better. Let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, and share. That's what all the YouTubers say, apparently. So go out and be mighty, financial friends. You've got this, and I hope that you enjoy investing as much as I do. The passion is real, and there's always things to learn. Never stop learning. Bye.